Lumos. God forbid he uses a flashlight. Lately, I've been playing a lot of Hogwarts Legacy, and one of the spells that you have to use all the time is Lumos, so I figured, let's try and recreate it in Davinci Resolve. I started off with this clip shot on the Pocket 6K at 400 ISO with my Elgato key light airs pointed at the ceiling to give a little bit of ambient light. Then I brought that clip into Davinci Resolve, created a new Fusion clip, and headed to the Fusion page where I tracked the tip of the wand. I actually ended up having to track the footage from the end of the clip to the beginning, in other words, backwards, because the tip of the wand was blended into my sound panel a little too much at the beginning of the clip to get a good track. So, just something to keep in mind if you're tracking footage. Contrast is your friend. Once I was done tracking the wand, I set the operation of the tracker to match move and the merge to foreground over background. From there, it was time to create the actual effect, which consisted of both 3D and particle effects. First, I created a 3D sphere. Now, I'm not going to go into the details of how I did that here because I already created a whole tutorial about working with 3D in Fusion. I'll have that link below. Next, it was time to create my particles. Now, just like the 3D system, particle systems require a minimum of 3 elements: a particle emitter, a particle merge, and a particle renderer. So I added all 3 of those to my node graph and connected them together. Now, one cool thing about the particle system is the fact that you can make your particles basically any shape you want. I'll do a whole tutorial on this soon, but for now, what I wanted was to have the particles in the shape of 3D spheres. To do this, I selected the particle emitter, then in the style tab in the inspector, I changed the style to bitmap. Doing this added a new style bitmap input to the particle emitter, which I connected my 3D renderer to. Doing this told the particle system to make my particles, you guessed it, 3D spheres. From there, I connected everything to my tracker and adjusted the size, position, and gain until I got the look that I was going for, and I added a glow between my particle renderer and my tracker to make my particles glow. Now, at this point, I could have called it good on the Fusion portion of this effect, but honestly, it kind of just looked like a weird looking flashlight instead of a magic wand, so I headed over to today's sponsor, Motion Array, to see if they could help. Motion Array is a huge marketplace full of presets, templates, and effects for Premiere Pro, Final Cut, and obviously Davinci Resolve. They've also got a whole bunch of stock footage and effects overlays, which just so happened to be exactly what I was looking for. And it was pretty easy to find what I was looking for too, thanks to Motion Array's extensive search filters. All I had to do was choose my resolution and give it a search term like particles, and it didn't take long to find this really cool Firefly overlay that would work perfectly with the effect that I was building. Motion Array will be linked below if you want to check them out, and if you sign up using that link, which I highly suggest you do, you'll get $50 off of an annual plan. Thanks so much to Motion Array for sponsoring this video and for supporting creators like me. And now that we have our Fireflies, we can bring them into Davinci Resolve, use a color corrector to desaturate, and use the merge node to adjust the opacity and position until it looks like the Firefly particles were emitting from the wand. And now at this point, the fusion part of this effect was done, but we had a problem. The Lumos effect wasn't actually changing the lighting in the room. To fix this, I headed to the color page and used the Relight effect, keyframing the brightness to make it look like I was using the wand to brighten up the room. Then I added the Relight effect and some Fireflies from Motion Array to the final shot in the sketch, for continuity. From there, I finished off the color grading with Dehancer, completed the sound design with some music and sound effects, and when I was all said and done, I had this. Lumos. Now, like I said, I'm going to be putting out a beginner's tutorial on the particle system in Davinci Resolve soon, so make sure you're subscribed and have that bell rung so you don't miss it. For now though, check out this video right here for some tips on how to make your VFX shots more convincing, and until next time, don't forget to go out and make stuff. Thanks for watching.